Hi everybody! As you can see, finally the second devlog of Prehistoric the Firerock is out. You might wonder why it's been so long since the last one, and this is simply because I didn't work on the game. My computer couldn't stand game development anymore, and I had to buy a new one. And finally, I got a brand new computer. It's way faster, way better, and ready to follow me during my game development. Once everything was set up, I opened Unity and I tested the game. And I had a really bad surprise. If you followed my work on my other socials, you might know that I was working on the character visuals and the animations. I remember how proud I was of this. But 4 months later, testing the game was a real nightmare. The computer was not a problem, but how could I imagine such a character? First, when you press space, you have to wait 1 second before the character jumps. And when you pick up an item, you can't move the camera until the animation finishes. This was a real mess. And why is this character so slow? So I created a new character and started it all over again. I'll try to work on character visuals later on, because I have to remake my animations properly to avoid doing the same thing than before. So to start again creating, I made a new map with new trees and improved visuals. To test my game during the development of the base gameplay, I decided to make a simple island. I was not confident with these hard edges, so by this way the border will simply be deep water. To do things well, I wanted to use the good method to create the terrain. I personally do not like Unity's default terrain editor. Plus, I can't make it look low poly. So I went into Blender, I made my low poly island, and then I had to add textures. But I was actually wondering, how will I make quality texture for such a big terrain? And even more when I'll create the whole open world. I'm not gonna create a texture of 1 billion by billions of pixels. So how can I add textures? I first wondered if I was unrealistic with my ambitions. But quickly I remembered Subnautica, Grounded, and a lot of my inspirations. They all had a solution. So I searched on the internet, but it was really long. There are only a few people using the right technique. RGB masking. This was my solution. I have to paint my terrain with a really low resolution image that only contains the following colors: black, red, green and blue. Then I can say to Unity that, for example, red is grass, and the grass texture can be detailed as much as I want. Here's what I came up with. A 64 by 64 pixels image that corresponds to my ground textures and my terrain, displaying high resolution textures. Then I put it all in Unity and I set up the water of my actual sea and placed my trees and props as usual. When it was time to add grass, I remembered I didn't have any more access to Unity's default grass system. There was no way I placed grass manually, so I had to create a shader. And if you watched the last devlog, you probably remember I don't know how to make shaders. So I searched on YouTube and found this video by Minions Art. Her grass shader is really good, and I can paint grass everywhere. And good point, my character interacts with grass. This is so cool. Here's the island. Of course, I'll improve it step by step while developing new features. But now, I'll try to re-implement all the features I made last time. My system is way more complicated to set up than I thought. But finally, everything worked well, and I'm ready to create new features. But this is for next time.